Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to give everyone another minute here and see if we can get Jeff connected. So just give us one more minute.
Morning, morning, morning.
Good morning. How was your weekend? You guys get a lot of rain over there?
You know, it never rains on the beach, man. Come on.
So I've heard.
You know what it is like when you're always working your butt off and you've got a little 9-month-old and a 4-year-old. There's no such thing as a weekend, but
that's true.
It was pretty.
That's true.
It
felt more like a weekend for me this weekend because the kids have been back at school. So it was like an actual weekend, where before it was just every day ran together. I didn't even know what day of the week it was half the time.
Cool. All right. Well, we're gonna have some fun today because as we were talking about topics, and we've got a million of them, we said let's just let them pick some topics today. Let's do a little Q&A, and I think that's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, I had some sent to me. Couple actually came from outside, from some of the real estate groups as well as from workplace, and then we had a couple agents email me as well. So we can start with those, or
let's do that. Let's start with some of yours, and then as you guys who's watching, just type in any Q&A about lead gen, prospecting, marketing, branding, anything Q&A. This is what we're going to do today. We're going to have some fun with it. So
yeah. So the first one, which I think is probably a good place to start, came from one of our brand new agents who just said, "Are the meetings recorded, and where can I find them?" The answer is yes. Right. So all of our morning meetings are recorded, and there's several places to find them. So I'll just show you exactly where. So if you open up, share my screen here for a second. Try this again. Hold on 1 second. Okay. So if you go to the mobile app, because I've gotten a couple questions kind of around this. So inside the mobile app, you'll have, right when you open it up, you'll see trainings. And when you click on trainings, this is where all of our past trainings are, and that includes anything that is recorded. So as an example, this recording here today, if you click, because it's Marketing Monday, if you click the Marketing Monday section, will go here once Jonathan uploads it. So assuming Jonathan's not being lazy, just kidding, Jonathan, I love you. Usually he is able to get it done, later that day. It depends how long the session is. Sometimes it might take them a little bit longer, but typically by the afternoon or evening of the day that it was recorded, it is live in the app, which also means it is live on be3agents.com. Same thing under past trainings. Okay, so all you would need to do, all of them are in here for the Marketing Monday, and you'll see them, they're all categorized. And then all of our old trainings for the last 3 years are also in here as well. So as an example, 2019, so that's all of last year. If I click on this, this is all of last year's trainings. Okay, so those are where you'd find it. Stop the broadcast.
Very nice.
And so that's where you'd find it.
I think we lost you. You're on mute. You muted. You hit your mute with your thumb. There you go. I got.
Okay.
All right. So ready for the next one?
We're ready. Yep.
This one I got from one of the agents here on the beach saying, what do you think about doing print? You guys talk all about digital. Does print still have a place in today's world? What's
Print,
it to you? Then I got my thoughts.
print definitely has a place in this world. I mean, listen, we were talking about this the other day about running print from a recruiting perspective. And I told you it was paining me to even do it, right? Because it's like, it feels so old school. Yet, if done correctly, I think has a place. Now, in my opinion, there's a correct way to do direct mail or print in a 2020 world versus a 95 world. We have so much more data and so much more ability to be contextual in direct mail that we didn't have before. And so I look at direct mail as really there's two ways to do it. There's one is I'm just going to spend the money and I'm going to blanket a market and I don't really care. It's a numbers game. And hopefully if I hit 1,000 people, then someone's going to say yes. And then there's a more targeted way where we could go in, use Remind, get very specific on who we're mailing. And even more so, if I drill down and say, you know what, these 20 people, these 10 people are really, really likely to do something. So those 10, I'm going to get real contextual, like name, it's going to be personalized to them. And I'm going to do direct mail, take the time to do it very contextual to them. And then I'm going to hit the next 100 people. But because I'm being specific about the neighborhood or the area, everything I do in that piece of copy can be in regards to them, right? I could put the neighborhood on the front. I could put the name of the area on there. I could get very, very contextual. So for me, I'm just a big fan, no matter whether it's digital or print, of being as contextual to the person who's getting it as possible, because I think that gives you the greatest opportunity to connect with them and for them to actually read it, right? So, and I think we have tools available to us to do that. But I think a lot of people get lazy when it comes to direct mail, and they just send out kind of a generic piece of mailing, which in my opinion won't work as well.
I think that's great. It's also the difference between shotgunning and just rifling, right? It's just a sniper attack versus a shotgun attack. And one of the things we talked about is depends on your market, right? So, for example, let's say you're working Longboat Key. There's a stretch of beautiful homes on Longboat Key that are single-family Gulfront mansions, right? So, if you wanted to go super contextual, just get to know every one of those people. Reddington Beach, there's 55 owners that live directly on the Gulf in beautiful waterfront Gulfront mansions, right? So if you wanted to get super contextual, you go into Remind, you go onto Facebook, you go into LinkedIn, you learn about these people, find the 3 connections, send them a little letter saying, hey, what's going on, right? And so that's different than just going in every door direct, just blast to postal member, right? That just happens to go to their post office to say, hey, market's hot, want to sell your house, call me. That's BS, right? It's better than nothing, but it's hardly better than nothing because it has nothing to do with the person that you're doing it to. So I think it really depends on what you're doing. So if you're stalking, for an instance, a stretch, say it's Andalusia in Apollo Beach, it's got that one stretch of beautiful Gulfront mansions, right? Or Tampa Bay front mansions. You can really get contextual with those and write them a letter, get into Remind. You could talk about where their loan is, how much equity they're sitting on, what have they been doing, what's special about the property, what else could they be doing, right? That's the difference, and it's just another way to get there. So it could be a postcard, it could be a handwritten letter, it could be a CMA, it could be, there's a million things, just like everything else, and everything will work. But the agent I was talking to over here, it was so contextual about only these waterfront houses in this specific town, right? So that's a whole different direct mail print campaign. I don't think that's really a print campaign. I think that's a sniper attack via mail, right? And then you also follow that up with door knocks, and you also follow that up with stalking them on Facebook and LinkedIn and sending them messages and doing the things. So yes, it does have a place, but it's a strategy that needs to be thought about.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, because one of the other questions that I got from one of our agents was, what's the best way to use Facebook to build brand, right? And I think it's important to note that yes, you can build brand via Facebook, but you're not going to build brand solely via Facebook. So to your point, it's touch points, right? It's just communicating. If your favorite brand right now only ran in one and only connected with you in one way, it wouldn't work, right? It's why these big brands have big marketing teams, because they know that they need to do everything. And so obviously as a solo agent, you're not able to do everything, but you can take that same concept and drill it down. And that's really, if you look at the daily marketing guide that we created, that's really what it is. That is a branding tool. Because if you're able to touch and get in front of people, right, in a variety of different ways on a variety of different platforms, adding in print into that, which probably should be part of it. You add print, you add email, and then you hit them on 5 different social platforms. Now we're connecting with them in a really roundabout way. And so no matter how they're consuming, no matter where they're at, you're there. And when you do that consistently, guess what? That's called branding. So that's really how you build a brand, right? It's never going to be done in just one place, because the danger of it is, let's look at all the people that have become very successful on TikTok right now. They're in big trouble because their leverage lies within that platform. And there is a very good chance that on September 15th, if Microsoft and Walmart can't figure out a way to buy TikTok, which they're trying to do, but China's stepping in trying to stop it. If that doesn't happen, Trump has already said TikTok is gone in the United States. Every influencer that is making a living, and some of them making a very good living off of TikTok, who did not take the time to also build brand on Facebook and Instagram, are in big trouble. And so my fear for you guys is, if you only build brand on Facebook, then you're in big trouble if Facebook ever goes away. So I never like to be at the leverage of a platform. I think a roundabout strategy is the way it has to be done. And that just takes consistent activity on all of them.
And you can't be everything to everyone, guys. So take the pressure off, right? And you don't need to be. You don't need to be thought of. If you work Seminole, Florida, and Largo and Indian Rocks and Reddington Beaches, you don't need people in Safety Harbor and Temple Terrace to even know your name, right? It's totally irrelevant, and it's counterproductive, right? If you're going after business like that. So start thinking about who do you really want to know your name, why, and then let them know your name. It's that simple, but you got to figure out who first and do it. You're not Coca-Cola, right? We're not Century 21 Global. You are yourself as an individual business provider, entrepreneur that works a specific market with a specific niche with expertise in a certain section of homes, right? That's your market that needs to make sure that they know your name, right? And
you guys are closer. You guys are closer to Ferrari than you are Coca-Cola, right? How many Ferrari ads are as a normal person seeing? 0. Do you know who is getting marketed to by Ferrari? People that they know who have bought other Ferraris and will buy more Ferraris, right? It's a very niche group. They don't care if the school teacher, right? No offense, but they don't care if the school teacher sees their new launch of their new car, right? Because they know that, hey, we are expensive. And so we only care about people that want to go and spend $200,000 to $1 million on a car. That's it. That's our audience. That's who we're going after. Boom, that's it. And because they're so niche focused, if they spend all their time worrying about who's buying a Honda, it wouldn't work, right? And so there's a reason that they've never made a $30,000 vehicle, because it's not the world they play in. They've only make luxury vehicles. That's it, right? And so when you think about that, that's really what you need to have, that laser focus as well, and that commitment to saying, this is my audience, and I'm gonna stay true to that, and I'm gonna stick to it, and that will help you big time. Another branding question I had was, when trying to build my brand, how important is my handle on social, or my name that I'm using? Listen, everything plays a role. In my opinion, Jeff may feel different. I don't know. We can get your opinion. In my opinion, people spend far too much time worrying about these type of details, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter until it does. Let me give you an example. What is Nike? I don't know, right? If you just heard Nike and had no context as to it being the largest shoe brand in the world, it wouldn't mean anything to you. That name in itself doesn't mean anything. But what Nike did was take the word Nike and built a brand around it to say, hey, we are shoes. We're going to go put our shoes on the top athletes in the world. we're going to entrench ourselves in sports to get every single memory associated to Michael Jordan, to have that swoosh on the side of his shoe, so that every kid coming up playing basketball wants to have that too, because it gives them that feeling. That is brand. So when we get into how do I brand myself, guys, it's more of the experience that you're providing to your clients. It's about the quality of service you're providing consistently, because that gets out, and that word of mouth and you entrenching yourself in that's what's going to build your brand, not the handle or name you're using.
Cool. I've got one here a little bit more contextual about deals, which I think is an interesting one too. So I'm dealing with multiple offers right now. How in depth should I be getting with the lenders? Okay. Super critical point right now, guys. We are in a very unique market at the moment. When you have a property that's priced relatively well, you're going to get a lot of activity, and a lot of activity, you're probably going to have multiple offers on it. But even if you only have one offer, this doesn't change the situation. Okay. So one of the things that I want to really talk about for a second is how detailed do you get with the lender? First of all, this is scary, but the vast majority of agents who receive offers on their listings never even talk to the buyer's lender, right? That's not right. Okay. Not right. You need to be getting on the phone, right? Texting them, calling them, shooting an email, setting up a time to Zoom or to talk with them, because this is the most critical teammate that you're going to have to put this transaction to a close. You guys got it? So you need to be calling them. Now the other question is, what questions do I ask them? Okay, here's the situation. Let's just talk high level for a second. If you're the lender and I'm selling, I have the Johnson's house for sale. I just got an offer and I got a pre-qual letter and you're listed as the loan officer on that one. Need it. Now, first of all, if you have an offer that doesn't come across with a loan officer information, you need to treat that like a piece of toilet paper, because that's really what it is. Okay. So what you need to do is, let's talk about this one, go through the pre-qual and say, okay, I see Michael Puma. Here's his phone number. Ring, ring, ring.
Yeah, this is Mike. How can I help you?
Hey, Mike, Jeff Baggin, Century 21. Listen, I've got you down as the loan officer for the Johansons. They're buying a house over on Oakberry Lane.
Yep. I'm familiar.
Okay, good. We're gonna be working together in this deal. So I need to know kind of what's the story with them. How far are they? Have they made application? Have you pulled their credit? Do you have your pay stubs? Do you have your tax returns? What kind of loan program are they going under? Talk to me, tell me the story. I need to know how serious they are, how qualified they are, and everything you can tell me about it. So what can you share with me?
Yeah, I mean, I know that they have filled out the application. I don't think we've gotten too much further than that, to be honest with you. I don't remember. I'm looking at their file now. I don't see pay stubs or anything in here yet. So
great. See, guys, this is, I don't care what the answer is, but I need to know what the answer is, because I'm going to now call the buyer's agent and say, hey, sir, Shirley, I just got off the phone with Mike Puma, who's listed as the loan officer. They just made an application. They haven't turned in anything at all. How confident are you that they are doing it? I mean, you gave me an offer with $1,500 in escrow and a 30-day financing contingency. Talk to me, sell me why I should have my client take one of the hottest assets in the real estate industry off the market for the next 30 days when your clients haven't even really made an application yet. Tell me how that makes sense for me. Guys, yep. It's time. You have to do this. And I don't care if they like you. I don't care if there's an issue. We have a client to protect. We have a client to make sure that we're looking out for. And you have to be having these conversations, guys. It makes all the difference. And I'll tell you what, when you're on your next listing presentation, you need to talk about how we're going to be doing this one, because when an offer does come in, you're not going to let your sellers, nothing's worse, guys. And I've done it, right? I've taken offers for clients and I never really checked the way I should, because they had a nice car and why would I ever think that they couldn't close? And you go all the way through the financing period. And then the very last day of the financing contingency, you get that dreaded phone call. They couldn't get approved. Their ratios were off. They had a blemish. They had something. They had a past foreclosure. Something came up, right? And then now you have to crawl back to your sellers and say, I screwed up. I didn't do my work properly up front. I didn't vet them out. I let you sign a contract not knowing if they had any money. And it was a terrible, terrible way I represented you, and I'm sorry. Right? That's not the type of testimonial you want to have out there on you guys. It's all it takes is a phone call and a really serious conversation about what's going on with that client. Why are they credit worthiness, and why should you talk your seller into taking that property off the market? I don't care if it's $1 million over full price, right? You have to know, can they qualify for this thing? Now I'm seeing a lot these days. You're taking that 30. I saw an offer the other day. They had a 60-day loan approval period. They just wrote in, right? And many agents would just skim right on over that, not even notice it. So the counter back there went down to 10 days, right? So you're going to tell us you have 10 days you're going to get. Now it depends on the situation that you're in, guys, but be stronger, be way stronger on your pre-qualifying, especially on the deals. Now, if you're working with a buyer right now and you don't have this relationship with your buyer's lender, the first thing you got to do this morning when we're done with this huddle is get your butt on the phone and talk to your buyer's lender and connect with them. Understand the loan program they're going with. Understand how much of a down payment they plan to invest. Understand where their payments need to be, right? Understand the price range that works for them from the lender's eyes, right? Not their eyes, not your eyes, from the lender's eyes. Because who's most important in this transaction, guys? It's sad to say it, but it's the underwriter, right? And the appraiser. That's the most important part. So please get it way stronger, especially in this market, by tearing into the pre-qualification ability of the buyers that you're dealing with right now. So long-winded answer to that question, but I'm very passionate about it, as you can tell, because that makes the difference. It actually separates the herd from those who, I don't want to offend them and ask them tough questions. Guys, this is the largest financial transaction in most people's lives. When people trust us to handle their listing, right, that means that they trust us to make sure the buyer can buy. And let's put some pressure on that buyer, and let's find out if they're going to sink or swim quickly in this type of market, so we're not waddling out there for 30, 45 days till we find out they can't pull the trigger. So there you go.
Well, especially in a market where it is so hot and you are getting multiple offers, right? You have to be able to determine which offer is the best, and that's not always easy.
And
right?
even
But
when
I
it's
think
not,
asking those questions helps.
and even when it's not multiple offers, and it's even worse if there's not multiple offers, because let's say you're
True,
sitting
too.
down and there's nothing coming in and you finally get a nibble and you're like, yes, I got a nibble and he sold, right? How dumb is that? Because now you got one, right? You better make sure it's a good one, or else don't take them in the boat and keep fishing for another one, guys. Get really, really, really specific on this, guys.
All right, so there was a question in the chat that said, what's the best way to ensure all Century 21 sites and C21 Beacon sites with our profiles are all the same with our information? Find there are different sites with Century 21 that collects our information and it's not accurate. In these instances, we do not have edit permission to change. Is there a way to prevent these other Century 21 sites from popping up? We've been told to use our Zap website if these other C21 sites are out there. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, what other Century 21 sites you're referring to. If you could maybe link us to one, that might clear it up as to what you're seeing. The way Zap works, though, is, we would need to see what I would need to see a domain, a link to a specific site that you're referring to. Zap, obviously, every Century 21 that's out there is essentially going to look and kind of feel the same. So maybe you're seeing another brokerage's Zap site. I'm not sure in thinking that it's ours. As far as the brokerage goes, we do have several marketing sites that we use, like C21myway.com. The Beach Projects is really for you guys to be able to market because there's no call to action. So if you're seeing one of our sites, like as an example, C21myway.com is kind of a marketing site that we use at the brokerage level to advertise our services as well as our specific projects to drive landing pages for any ads or anything that we're doing. That has nothing to do with you at the agent level. That's all brokerage. So there's nothing specific about the agents on that site. We're not feeding in the IDX or anything like that. So not sure. If you have a link, though, to one of them and you want to put that in the chat, I'm happy to check it out and see what's going on and answer that question.
And Angelique just popped in and said, we need specifics, and we do. Send us a link to 2 of the different ones, because if there's an issue, guys, we'll fix it. Who knows what it is?
Yeah.
But so, and Angelique Core at C21 Beacon, she will send the links to her and she'll figure that out. So that's what we need to do.
So I think this is an interesting question for you to answer, probably, Jeff, but I know I have my opinion. So an agent had messaged me and said they have a close friend that hired them, but wants to pull the listing after just 19 days. It's a higher end listing due to lack of traffic. What should they do? Now, I'll give my short answer obviously not being an agent, but just the reality is whenever I see something like this, there was obviously very poor expectations set up front, and there was a lack of communication somewhere in the beginning because, and I get it, because I think sometimes when we're doing business with friends or family, we don't want to ask the questions that we probably should or normally would ask because it's a friend or family, right? And you don't want to have that. The reality is it's even more important to set that expectation because they are friends or family, right? So I can just tell you from the outside looking in, the fact that they thought this house would sell in 19 days meant that there was an expectation that they had, and clearly you guys were not on the same page, and that should have been it had they followed the spa process, right? This would have been clearly identified. You would have known what their expectation was, and you would have been able to temper that with the price, because I believe they had said this listing was at 775,000. Well, maybe the house is worth 700. I don't know. I don't know the listing in particular, but clearly there was a breakdown there. And so, Jeff, you can obviously share more
Yeah.
insight.
Here's what I want to say. You're busted. All right. Completely flat ass busted. And here's why. What's the house worth, guys? The house is worth what a buyer's willing to pay for it based on whatever else is available to them on the day they decide to buy. That's what a house is worth. You need to remember that. I'll say it again. The house is worth whatever a buyer is willing to pay for it based on whatever else is available to them on the day they decide to buy. Period. Okay. So this is the number one conversation that buyers need to hear. And then our job is to walk them down the process, right? And the process is, let's talk about our competition. Let's talk about our 5 biggest competitors. What's the most expensive, least expensive? What's the most similar to yours? Let's talk about the top 5 solds. What's most expensive, least expensive? What's most similar to yours? Let's talk about the 5 expireds. What's most expensive, least expensive, most similar to yours? And then that allows them to put the bumpers up in their brain. So they're telling themselves kind of where they need to price at. And then you go to the seller's cost estimator, which is saying, okay, we need to list, in this case, it would be between $700,000 and $800,000 for an example, right? You told me that you saw the comps with me, and this house is worth somewhere in this range. If we price it at 700, probably too cheap, but we'll have a contract probably tonight about 6 of them, right? I don't think that's our best course of action. We price it 800,000, where it's going to be crickets. We're not going to hear anything for a long time, so don't call me, right? And bitching about it. So you know up front. Now, somewhere in the 745 to 770 range is probably where we need to be. So let's talk about that. Do you want a contract sooner? Do you want a contract later? Because really we're competing on that one in Oakberry. So let's really look again at Oakberry and see how you think you stack up to that house. Look at the kitchen, look at the bath, look at the pool, look at the view, right? Compared to yours. This is where I think we're better. This is where I think we're worse. This is our biggest competitor. So let's see what happens on that. Now that you've seen these prices, where do you want to price your home, Mr. Seller? And then you zip it and you shut up and you do not fall for the bait. Well, I don't know. What do you think? It's priceless to me, guys. I'm not the one moving. I'm not the one that wants money in my pocket at the end of the day. Do you want money quickly or do you want more money later? I don't care what the answer is. You pick it and put it right back on them, right back on them. And then they ask you again, sorry, where do you want to go? We're looking between this range and this range. Fast sale, slow sale. Where do you want your money? The average days on the market, if you look at my spa that we went through, is 72. Okay, so if you price somewhere in the middle, expect about 72 days. You want it faster than 72 days, tip over that side in the pricing. You don't care when you get it, but you want to try to get more and pioneer a new price for the neighborhood, pick over here. Now that you've seen these prices in these ranges, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, where do you want to get started? And then you shut up. And then you listen and you do it again. Then you do it again. Then you do it again. Then you do it again until they say, well, let's start at 762. Okay, sign the contract. Once you do that, guys, you will never have this issue. The moment you try to be Yoda, right, and just pull the magic fairy price out of the air, you're in deep trouble because you're not the buyer. And then 3 other houses are going to come on the market in the next week, which totally reshuffles the deck. And then now you're going to have to eat your words, and you're going to have to 19 days from now answer to your seller why you're not having any traffic because you thought you were smart enough to pull a price out of thin air. So please take the pressure off yourself. Do not confuse the process. Follow the process the right way and let it work the way it's supposed to. Every time there's aggravation, guys, I promise you, you go back, you screwed up the process somewhere along the way. Follow the process. So you don't have to tell me their names now, but you tell me later so I can call them and do the same speech again to them one-on-one.
Fair enough. All right. Let's. I guess we should probably end around right now, right? So let's do one.
Another one.
Yeah, we'll do one more. And this is probably a good one to end on. So, what is the most valuable piece of advice you could give for a newer agent right now?
I'm going to scratch the word newer out of that whole answer, right? Because it doesn't
I
matter.
was going to do the same. Yeah, I was going to do the same. I think it's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant because if you're an old bee or a newbie, we're staring at the exact same challenges right now. And the challenge is you got to get to work to get more inventory, right? Or you need to work with your buyers. And if you're working with buyers, that's fine, but you better have something creative to talk about. For example, these renovation loans, for example, a home park, something to talk about to show that you're actually active and engaged in the real estate industry and worthy of their trust. Okay. Let me say that again. So if you are Andy Simmons, who's a rock star, amazing agent who hasn't had a lot of $3 million plus homes sales, right? And she decides she wants to go to her next level and pull some $3, $4, $5 million home sales and go kick a couple agents' butts that are doing those, and they're no better than her. She's going to have doubt, fear, and anxiety, and a drunk monkey that's going to be rampant, and she's going to have kickback, and she's going to be paralyzed, and it's going to be a fight. Now, same thing for a newbie who's never had a $200,000 listing. They've got the exact same mental battle coming in their brain, right? And you're both going to lose until you get strong enough with your conviction as to why you're ready to get your butt to work, right? And it goes back to the why, and the why has got to be strong enough, guys. It is damn hard to fight your drunk monkey. It's damn near impossible. Look around, right? 97% of the world lost, right? They just lost the fight. They just gave up, and they just said, I'll just take whatever comes to me, whatever it is, right? And then there's the 3% that say, screw it, that's mine. I'm going to go get it. Watch this, hold my beer, right? That's the conversation that we need to be having with ourselves is, what are you committed to doing this month? What are you committed to doing this week? What are you committed to doing today? Because whether you're Andy going to call $3 million properties today or a new one trying to get your first deal, you need to talk to people, right? You need to talk to people. You need to talk to people. You need to connect with people. You need to have conversations with people today. I don't care who you're having conversations with. You get to control that. If you want $3 million listings, I highly suggest you talk to people that have $3 million houses, right? Because you're wasting your time if you're not niched down to that. If you're committed to that goal and you want to challenge yourself to get to that next level, only talk to those people and stalk them, handwritten notes, get on LinkedIn, find them on Facebook, send them a message, send them a friend request, start to connect with them. Connect, VAK, DISC, find some commonalities, start to talk to them and connect, okay? Same thing if it's your first deal, no difference. You guys see the difference here? There is no difference. You have to talk to people. You have to talk to people. You have to make people think about you when they think about real estate. And then there's 3 questions that pop into their mind. Can I trust you? Are you good at what you do? And do you actually care about me? Okay. We talk about this a lot in Next Level You, and you can go watch this again in Next Level You. And the app that Puma showed you on the first question today, go back and watch it. You've got to connect, because when they think about it, can I trust you? Are you good at what you do? And do you care about me? A lot of that's going to become on skill. It's going to be skill related. Did you take time to appreciate them? Do you take time to understand them? Do you take time to notice them? Are they D's? Are they I's? Are they S's? Are they C's? Are they visual? Are they auditory? Are they kinesthetic when you communicate with them? If you don't know, you need to blanket all of them, which takes skill. If you're going to write a letter, this is important, there's a good wrap up here. If you're going to write a letter, you're going to write that in which stage, whatever stage you're in right now. If you just say, hi, Mr. Puma, I noticed you have a beautiful home on Alhambra Drive. I was wondering if you ever thought about selling. The market is amazing. Da, 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 da. When I look around, I could see this is a, right. I'm going from my standard of the world, when I really should have taken some time to Google the seller, find him on LinkedIn, read about what he does. And if I see that he's a data analyst for Raymond James, senior VP, I'm going to tailor my letter a little bit differently and talk about the unique analytics of what's going on in this real estate market, and throw some stats and some price per square foot and compare year over year and why it's an interesting time to be doing things. You guys get it? So it's how are you going to connect? And if you're working with your sphere and people are engaging with your post, go connect with them. If 82 people or 32 people like your post this morning, great. Go engage with those 32 people that liked your post, read about what there's going on in their world right now and comment on what's going on in their world right now and connect with them. Notice if they're D's, I's, and S and C's, all those fun things, guys. That's the difference. So you need to connect with people and just really connect. Don't just contact them. That's the biggest example that I have to work on this today.
Yeah, I think, from my perspective, it's pretty simple, right? When it comes to marketing and advertising, no one knows. No one knows. They don't, right? And especially when it comes to just posting and creating content to your sphere, guess what? Most of them also don't care, right? Because all they care about is that if they're seeing your stuff, it means that they already like you, they already trust you, and they're already engaged with you in some way, shape, or form. So all it is your job is to treat it like they don't know. You could sell 100 homes or 0 homes, but I guarantee you that even if you sold 100, if you're never telling anyone about it, if you're never giving them clues that you are a very successful agent, no one knows. In the same way that you very easily could come into this business, start posting relevant real estate content here and there, sprinkling it in, and all your sphere is seeing very subtly as they scroll through is, oh, Mike posted something about real estate. Oh, Mike posted. Do you know how many people think that I'm an agent? I have friends that think I'm not an agent, guys. I am not licensed, but they think I am just because I'm posting all the time, right? I'm taking the same content that I give to you guys. I'm just pushing it out there just so I can stay relevant in their minds as well. And so they just from that, they think I'm an agent, and they think I'm a very productive agent because they see how much content, how many projects, and how many things we're doing, and how many programs. Because I'll post about our programs, I'll post about RealSure, I'll post about Home Partners, I'll post about that stuff. And I was after the story that we did on Home Partners the other day. I had friends message me left and right. How can I rent any house that's for sale? Well, let me tell you, right? And then those are people that we're just going to go ahead and give out to you guys. So at the end of the day, my point is no one knows. The only person who knows is you. And so you're holding yourself back because you're having self-doubt, because especially if you are new, you're sitting there going, well, I'm new, I don't know anything, right? They don't know that. So from a marketing perspective, you just have to put yourself out there and then realize that you have an amazing team behind you. There is nothing that your manager, Jeff, Craig, Angelique, you have an amazing team behind you that's going to answer the questions that you don't know. That's why you're here. So rely on us, but you have to do the initial work, which is putting yourself out there. And it's not all real estate, but you got to sprinkle it in there because they have to know that you are in, getting a call. They have to know that you're in real estate. Okay. They just do. And so it's consistency of that. Now, to Jeff's point, you're not going to do that unless you have something that you're committed to. But we've been over that many, many times. And then it's just about bringing value and being relevant and being willing to have those one-on-one conversations, right? In order to take it to the next level, because you don't need 100 deals, most of you. Most of you need 1 deal this month, and you're going to be happy. Maybe 2, maybe 3, right? So the willingness to have a conversation, and then anyone who comments on your post that you made today, clicking their name and messaging them one-on-one to further that conversation, that step alone will increase your odds of getting a deal this week. I guarantee it. But most of you are not going to take the time to do that. You may click the little like button, right? You may reply to their comment, but I'm saying click the like button, reply to their comment, and then message them and say, hey, John, thanks for posting or commenting on the post. I agree with you. Hey, what's going on in your world? How is everything? How's the family? Starting that one-on-one conversation, because they gave you the entrance way to do that when they commented and engaged with you. And so rewarding that behavior and then building on it will, I promise you, lead to more deals. But most of you aren't going to do that work unless you have something you're committed to.
Hey, that was our last one, but let's have another last one real quick. Because we've got an agent just posted, they've got a semi-stale listing, right?
Okay.
So 3409 Dewey across from the stadium, semi-stale. It's now certified pre-loved. What is the best social site to hit? Ad engine. I'm not consistent on social. It's not my lane. My client is asking for other social marketing.
I
Before you
would.
hit the contextual part of that, let me hit the high level for a second.
Okay.
The reason why it's semi-stale is that the buyers are rejecting it. Okay. In this marketplace with these interest rates and this low inventory, something's wrong, right? Something's just wrong. And either there's a gross error that it's not listed in the right city, state, or zip code or price range, and there was a keyed error into MLS. Short of that, there's something wrong with the condition or the price, right? Because everything could be cured by price. This house could be falling in and smell like cat pee. Somebody will still buy it for the right price. So it's a pricing issue versus the condition issue. So we first have to go back and say, 3409 Dewey Street, is it a 2-1? Is it a 3-2? What is the price range, ballpark? And then from there, go do a simple search, whether it's even on Zillow, pretend you're a buyer and say, I want a 3-2 in this 3-5 mile radius of the stadium and the airport. What else can I go buy? And then start supply and demand, just cross-referencing subjective, saying, how does my house on Dewey fit up next to this one, this one, this one, this one? What's the lot size? What's the condition? What's the size? What's the better buy? And then I like to go back and see what sold recently in the same parameters and see what the buyers bought instead of yours. And that's going to tell you a lot, because I promise you there've been other 3-2s or 2-1s, whatever it happens to be, sold in the last 30 days. Which ones were they? What did they sell for? Because it's a double-edged sword now, because not only does that tell you that we missed the mark a little bit on pricing, now it's just 4-star mark, because those are new appraisals that are going to hit the mark that the next buyer is going to be forced into. So you always take a few steps back, look at our subject property. If I have this pen to sell, I have to go to the pen market and figure out what other pens are on the market right now. What am I competing with? What are their prices? What can I do to get a customer to pull this pen off of a shelf, right? To at least hold it and feel it and come smell it and see if they like the feel, right? That's all we're doing. Marketing just simply attracts people, right, into the front door. Once they fall into the front door, they fall in love, okay? So, but all of our marketing, and you can take it here, all the marketing is designed to get them into the front door. And you've got to make it compelling and competitive and have some type of an advantage, compelling reason to come into that front door. Now, how do we do that?
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I would, looking at it purely from a marketing perspective, when you say a client is asking for other social marketing, my question to that is why, right? Do they just want to see those results? Do they feel like that's where it's lacking? Do they feel like that's where the buyer is going to come from? Are they in marketing themselves? Like, there's something driving that, right? So I would want to know, what are they looking for? What is the expectation that I'm trying to meet? Is it, what is that? And so I would have some follow-up questions about that before I even answered the question or took action. Now, with that said, if they just believe that, social is where it's at, and that's where, they want to see more from you from a social perspective, we can easily meet that expectation, right? One ad on Social Ad Engine is going to give you a very nice report. Even if it doesn't sell the house, you're going to meet that expectation, because for the, let's say you run a lead gen ad for the $149 it's going to cost you over the 7-day period, you're going to get a very nice report that's going to show that you've reached thousands of people in the area and, gotten a bunch of leads. And so that is going to transpire. Now, if they ultimately, what do they really want? They want the house to sell, right? But so that's why I want to get to the bottom of, why are they asking for more social marketing? Is it strictly to get the house to sell, or do they just want to see the house more exposure on social, right? Because there's a big difference.
He went a little deeper with the explanation. It is a poor condition, but a certified pre-loved home. So we're certifying that it's a crappy house. I promise you it is, but it's not, right? Is what we're doing. But that's a good point, because people try to lowball you when there's question marks. So certified pre-loved is a brilliant move, because it makes people say, okay, it's not updated, it's not in great shape, but at least the bones are good, right? And anybody can deal with good bones. The anomaly here seems to be that everything in the neighborhood is about $1.90 a foot, 1,800 square feet, but this one's 2,600 square feet. And he had to go out over 10 miles to find a comp that's over 2,400 square feet. So he's priced at 168 a foot. And, now it's in great shape, he says. Okay, so people aren't expecting a home of that size. And this happens sometimes, guys. You get a neighborhood of standard type of houses. And then you have the pink elephant, right? And the pink
Mhm.
elephant is something that's unique, and you've got to do that. Now, who in that neighborhood might want to move up, right? So if you're going to do social ad engines, start selling the differences. The largest home in the neighborhood, right? At 2,600 square feet, it's got to have 3 or 4 bedrooms, probably 4-bedroom home, right? Now, it wasn't done legally. Do they enclose garages and sunrooms or weird stuff to get to that square footage, or is it legitimately 2,600 square feet? So if that's the angle, then you've got something special that's nothing else in the marketplace. You've got to always play your card, right? Whatever card you have. If you're elevated and not at ground level in a flood zone, that's your card. If you're biggest one in the neighborhood, there's your card. If you got a nice pool, there's your card. But that's the card that you play, because that's the one. So I would feature that card, right? Whatever it ends up being. And it's a 4.3 2-car garage roof, new roof in 2020. Sounds like a great property, but people are not expecting that quality and size in that neighborhood, which is probably the issue. Because here's
Yep.
the issue. You've got to see, for that price, for another 2,600 square feet house, and what's your sales price, the list price right now? Where else are they buying? Because they're probably buying. Here's the other thing. If you're going to buy a 2,600 square feet, conventional wisdom says the safest place to buy a home that's 2,600 square feet is in a neighborhood with what?
Other homes that are
Other
2,600
homes that
square
are
feet.
similar to that one, right? So if you've got the 2,600 square feet and you're surrounded by 1,800 square feet, it just doesn't fit, right? There's a connection that misses, because 4.2s, 4-bedroom houses have more kids than people with 2-bedroom, 1-bath houses. So you're going to be the weird family in that street that doesn't really fit in. This is all psychological, right? But this is kind of what people are going. So now you're competing with homes in a different neighborhood, right? That are more homogenous, that will get there. So now you have to offset the point that you have the largest home in the neighborhood, and you might have to discount it a little bit more, because they have to trade off that, I really could go buy that in, wherever it ends up being, where a neighborhood.
Yeah, or though you're going to attract the high D that loves the fact that they can have the biggest house in the neighborhood with a 2,600 square foot house, versus going to another neighborhood and being lost amongst all the others, right? So you can be king of the castle.
$450,000. Where could you, if you have $450,000, where could you live in Tampa, in any one of our marketplaces? Could you find a nice house for 450?
Absolutely, you could, but I would argue that there's going to be someone, and I would ask the question to that ID that says, well, where for 450 grand though could you own a 2,600 house and be the biggest house in your neighborhood?
Right, right.
Not many, right? And so there's someone that's going to love the fact that they are the biggest house on the street, they're the biggest house in the neighborhood, they're king of the castle, and they will love that. Right now, that's call it a needle in a haystack, but that's there. I think there's obviously, to Jeff's point, you do have to look at the pricing, and it likely will take some maneuvering there to get this thing sold. From a marketing perspective, I would look at a couple things. Obviously, your client wants to see more out of you. Social, give it to them, right? Social ad engine will give it to them. Make sure that you're posting it. Make sure you create a story about it. Maybe leverage the YouTube video that gets made for you, that if you just type in the address on YouTube, you'll find the YouTube video. Sell the fact that maybe the rental ability, when things come back to normal, right? Since it's so close to the stadium, maybe that's a huge opportunity of renting it out for games, right? Potentially. Super Bowl is supposed to come here. Of course, your luck is everything is can't go to the games right now. But that will change. And so when that changes, they're getting in on the ground floor of a huge opportunity to be able to make money, even if maybe this is an investment opportunity versus a home that they're going to buy.
Can you Airbnb it? Can you legally Airbnb it?
Exactly.
Is the yard big? Can you park $30 cars in it every Sunday next year? Right?
Yeah.
All those different things. Now, Jesuit High School being right there up the street, you could target Jesuit High School. You can do things, there's all kinds of different. Now you're thinking, right? Now, I like what I don't know who it is, because you're just Galaxy S10 here, but you've got St. Joseph Hospital right there. That's another thing. Now, as you're starting to think marketing, what are you going to actually do? There's your target. You've got people at Jesuit High School, you got people at St. Joe's Hospital, and you've got Raymond James Stadium, which I don't know if you can legally Airbnb, but if you could, what could you get for that? Doesn't make sense to buy it just for that.
So a couple hand-to-hand combat things I personally would do, the hospital being a big one, I would go today, go on LinkedIn, search that hospital, find all the employees of it and start reaching out to every single one of them to say, hey, we've got this new listing. It's super close to the hospital. Are you or anyone maybe would they appreciate being there? The other thing you may want to do is reach out to the hospital, find out who's running the residency program with the doctors, because here's the biggest challenge most hospitals have, especially the recruiters of the hospital. They bring in these doctors and they need to make sure the doctors like Tampa and want to live here. Those doctors work long hours. What do they want? They want to be able to get home very, very quickly, right? But a lot of times when they're in residency, they're living together, right? Because this may not be here long term, because after residency, they may go somewhere else. And so a lot of times there's 2, 3 of them living together. What do they need? More space, right? So whoever's in charge of the residency, hey, what can I do for you? What's going on in your world? Can I come in? I've got an amazing opportunity to help your doctors. I'm a local real estate agent. No one knows this local market better. I know that you need to help these doctors find a place to live. Let me take that off your plate. I'll tour them around. I'll help them. I've even got a great listing right now that I know the doctors would be interested in. Have those conversations right now. Again, this is all work, right? This is hand-to-hand combat. It's going to take you a bit. It's going to have to build some relationships, and it may not even be in time to sell this listing. But these are things that if you're doing this in your local market, guys, they will play out long-term for you. So those would be some suggestions I have for sure. I don't know what kind of content you have, but if you had content on this house of what it looked like before and after, if they took any sort of progress photos, I would take all of that. I would build a time lapse, because I guarantee you a potential buyer who falls in love with that story and can watch that house being built. Why do you think people love new construction? The fact that you can watch your dream getting built and come to fruition, and you see those photos on day one, and then you see the finished product, it blows your mind, right? Same thing here. This house went under a complete renovation. So if you have photos of that, take them on that journey. Those are all just some suggestions specific to this listing, but.
And it's 18 to 20,000 bucks in your pocket, right? So there's your motivation. If you know what you're going to do with 18 to 20,000 bucks, I imagine it wouldn't take you long to figure that out. But there's your reason to go hit up the St. Joe's people, because it's double side that baby, right? Hold the open houses, do some, targets, right? Where's the closest move up neighborhood, right? Where's the closest neighborhood? Those people around there, believe me, there's somebody in that neighborhood that really wishes they had a bigger home, right? So maybe you go door to door. Maybe you do a virtual open house. Maybe you do a walkthrough. Do you have the Zillow walkthrough open house right now, right? Those are the things that give you more views. Reverse prospecting. Go into Matrix and find out which other agents have clients looking at that house that have already favorited it, right? And then reach out to those agents and say, hey, do a price reduction for 500 bucks even, because it'll reposition it. Little tricks, change the front photo, change the price, change the first couple lines of text. The market will think it's a brand new listing. It'll pop back up into their things. Anybody who has a saved search with those parameters, it'll pop up like it's a new listing, right? So those are the little things that you want to actually do. So good. All right, John Evans, hope you enjoyed that. That was good, guys. Every listing you have, we need to go through the same examples. Let's slice it and dice it a million different ways to figure out how it's going to actually work for you. Cool.
Cool.
Excellent. All right. Hey, I like this. This is a great format. So keep them coming, guys. And if you like this, let us know. We'll kind of keep this rolling into rotation. A nice Q&A day.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, have a great rest of your week. If you need anything, we're here for you.
I guess.
Go crush it.
Wonderful day.
See ya.
Get to work.
See ya.